And just like that, we are back. So it's been a little while. October 20th was the last time that we put out an episode. So what's it been, like 8 months? I'm under explicit instructions to not go into too much detail on all of that. But guess what I'm going to do? Go into some detail. So first off, let's take a step back. My name is Andrew Frisch. This is
Holly Frisch.
Holly Frisch, my beautiful wife. This is officially episode number 13 of the Nutrient Health Project podcast. And yes, as I said, it has been 8 grand long freaking months since we recorded a podcast. And I don't want to linger too much on where we have been. I do want to talk a little bit about where we are going. Today's episode, we are going to be, after we kind of catch you guys up, we are going to talk about essentially the spectrum of weight loss and constraints. When do you put them on? When do you take them off? What kind of sacrifices do you need to make? When are you making too many sacrifices? Basically in weight loss and in bettering yourself as a whole. And then we have a few questions that we're going to answer towards the ends of this. So this is something I'd like to probably do on a regular episode basis, and it will not be another 8 months before we put out another episode, I promise. But I want to start doing some Q&As at the end of every episode. So with that, Holly, how you feeling today?
Feel pretty good.
Feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
She says she's feeling a little tired.
I was a little tired.
Prior to this,
We
and
did
I
a
said
2-hour workout this morning.
we did. We yeah, and that's not saying you gotta do a 2-hour workout, but that's what we did today. That's what we did yesterday. Mm-hmm. If we get a day off, we generally will make it a long ass workout day. So, but that's just what we do because the workouts are fun for us. So, super quick. Where have we been? Why has it been 8 months since we've put out a new podcast? Well, back in October, we actually still have 2 podcasts that we've recorded, one on blood sugar and another one on sleep. I'm just going to scrap both of those because it's been 8 months. And if you're listening to this, if you're anything like me, if you started doing something like 6-7 months ago, when you come back to it, it's kind of hard to like be invested in it. So we're going to scrap those and we'll probably re-record those episodes before too long. So 8 months ago, essentially, long story, super short. What happened was we took I guess what I could look at now as kind of a diversion off into computer programming and cybersecurity and hacking and just all of the fields of technology. We started doing that because Holly is super interested in cybersecurity and hacking. She kind of geeks out to that, and I went to school the first time back when I was, 18, 19, back in like 1999. I'm dating myself, but I went to school for computer programming. So being able to type in something to a computer and have it do something and spit something out is just kind of a cool concept. And it's also a very leverageable skill, right? If you get good at computer programming, money is potentially going to flow your way rather abundantly. However, as we were going, I started receiving messages from either former clients or, like in-person people or nutrition coaching clients, or just people that like followed us on any of the social medias, or people that were listening to the podcast prior. And they just said like, hey, like we kind of missed the podcast. I miss hearing you guys. And I honestly, we put this out and we want to grow this and I want people to listen to it. But at the same time, it just kind of shocked me that people were actually reaching out and saying like, hey, we missed the podcast. We want to hear what you guys have to say. So, a couple of them came in. I was like, yeah, I mean, we do need to get we need to get back to recording before too long. And just more and more came. And I think the final straw was actually reconnecting with a long lost friend from high school. Mike, if you're listening to this, Mike and Jennifer, hi guys. So he reached out and let me know that, they binged all the episodes of the podcast and he was wanting to know when more were coming out. And I was like, well, shit, it's been 8 months. But in all of that computer programming and, I got to a point where I was able to create a Python program where you would basically enter in your statistics, your age, your gender, your height, your weight, and it would spit out like kind of initial weight loss calories and macros and how much protein, carbs, fats you should have. that stuff is fun, but it's not this to me, right? Like this stuff, and I know, I asked you earlier, like, hey, 20 years from now, if our life is built around a platform where we're putting out content to help people and we are training people, we're doing nutrition coaching, and we're making podcasts and videos and things like that to help people be healthier and help people improve themselves, would you be okay with that? And you said, absolutely. So it's just basically the condensed version of it is we went off on a tangent into computer programming. I still want to work on those skills. She's still fascinated with cybersecurity, but it's like this to me takes precedence because this fills me. This refills my cup, so to speak. So my cup runneth over. Yeah, this is the passion, right? Yeah. So between Holly as my wife and then this is my job, like I'm living my dream. Mm-hmm. So that is basically where we've been. Where are we going? Well, obviously we're back on with the podcast. I've been much more active on social media, mostly on Facebook, just posting things every single morning. Some of what we talk about today will come from some of the posts I've put and the response to some of the posts I've put out there. But more so, we're taking the website, which is nutrient-health.com, if you've not been to it, and we're going to actually make that something. Right now, it's pretty much just a billboard. I want to make it a content-based membership site where anything and everything that comes out of my brain, as scary as that may be, and her brain, like I want to put that out there. So that means videos, broken down by body part of different training and different, like the exercises that we come up with. That means breaking down and making mindset ebooks that help people kind of really get dialed in and focused. That means, anything and everything that we can put out to help people and again, improve your self-improvement, we're going to do. And that's kind of where the website is at. So there's a lot of work to do. I've in the past, I've kind of come around at that and wanted to do it multiple times, but it's very easy to get overwhelmed and like, if you're a A-type personality like me and you want shit done as soon as you can do it, then it's very easy to just be like, I'll never get all this done and just throw your hands up and forget about it. But I kind of had an epiphany talking again with my long lost high school friend, had an epiphany that it doesn't matter how long it takes, right? Just every damn day am I doing something to put points on the board. So whether it takes me 3 months, 6 months, or 3 years to get the website up and where I'm, happy with it, if that'll ever happen, it doesn't matter. I'm not in a race with anybody except for myself. And if I'm not putting the content out, then clearly, people are wanting the content. I'm not doing anybody any good. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We are back from our diversion off into computer programming. I promise I will not talk about anything related to Python syntax or Linux commands or anything on the podcast. This will only be health, fitness, improvement, mindset, all that good stuff. Did I cover everything?
I think so.
Think so?
Yeah.
All right. You might get tickled before the end of this podcast if you don't. I need some energy.
It's been a little bit.
But no, okay. So the topic for today, like I said, is basically operating on the spectrum of health, of weight loss. One of the things, I'm kind of looking at our notes here, but I'm really big at looking at life in terms of things being on spectrums. And I think that you can apply the term of a spectrum, the idea and the concept of a spectrum, to literally anything and everything in life, right? So what I mean by that is, let's take your training, right? If you look at your training on a spectrum, and I mean, this can break down in dozens of different ways, but are you doing on one end more resistance training and weightlifting, or on the other end, are you doing just cardio and you're not touching the weights? On a nutritional side, are you on the spectrum? Are you super low carb on one end? Are you super low fats on the other end? Are you vegan on one end? Are you carnivore on the other end? So there's all kinds of ways to break down these spectrums. And I think I want to talk about one of the most important spectrums, and that's just constraints, specifically with calories and macronutrients today. So the overarching message that I think you'll pull away from this is that as the intensity of your goals increases, so as the more demanding your goals become, the more you need to strive for a balance on those spectrums, right? Now, there's going to be exceptions to that. So, like, say you're a power lifter, and you're obviously, if you're a power lifter, you're going to benefit more from lifting heavy shit all the time, right? But that doesn't mean that you should never do cardio. So the balance for a power lifter would be shifted more to the further end of the weightlifting side of that spectrum, but they do need to still touch base with that cardiovascular, because having a good cardiovascular base is going to allow you to recover quicker in between your heavy ass sets that you're doing as a power lifter, right? So I know with me, like, my goal, I've talked about it before, and Holly is the same. Like, we want to be like real life superheroes. We want to physically just like look unassuming, and then when you take the shirt off or the clothes off, people are like, holy shit. I want to do the same. I want to be well read and well cultured, all these things. A lot of balance has to be put into the life because our goals are so high, right? So we have a ton of constraints in place. We get up at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning if we sleep in. That means we're usually in bed by like 6:30 or 7. We're stretching before we go to bed to wake up feeling refreshed. We do hard workouts in the morning, but we're usually crunched for time as far as the workout, so it's got to like get in and get it out, which is why on the weekends we do the 2-hour workouts, because we can just kind of putz around at the gym for a while. So we have these constraints in place, but we also know when to take constraints out because we're getting burned out or we just need a change or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, any thoughts so far?
Yeah. Just like the last couple weekends, like we work out for, 2.5 hours and we have fun. Like it's like a playground almost. We could just both keep going. But then it's like by Monday or Tuesday, I'm feeling kind of hit.
Yep.
So it's like I need to, maybe we just go take a long walk, or maybe we just read extra long that morning. But you've got to let your body recover, because, I'll feel beat up after several days of 2-3 hour workouts.
Yep.
Even though we felt great during them. So yeah, you just got to give your body rest as well.
Right. Well, that would come down to kind of that balance side of stuff, because if you're taking the spectrum of workout time, right, on the far end, it's doing a 2-hour workout or a 2.5-hour workout, or what we did with 2 hours and 40 minutes one day, right?
Yeah.
So one of the days too, like we weren't planning on working out at all, so we walked 10,000 steps, and then it was like somewhere in that 10,000 steps I got a wild hair at my ass, and I'm like, let's go to the gym and do arms. So we ended up doing an hour and 40-minute arm workout.
Yeah.
Who does that? But so on that spectrum of workout time, we kept tapping it over to the edge of like extremely long workouts, right? So then, and we did that, this is Memorial Day weekend that we did that. So we went, I don't remember exactly right now, but you were off like Saturday, Sunday, you were off 3 days, right? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
So Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we did like either a 2-hour workout, walked 10,000 steps, and did an hour and 40-minute workout, or did a 2-hour and 40-minute workout, just kind of hitting everything. Yeah. Again, I'm not condoning that for everybody, but like that's just what we did. But then of course, Wednesday and Thursday of that week, we were hit. And It's just like, the important thing to remember is we didn't wake up and say like, I'm not doing anything today. We woke up and said like, well, let's walk. Or, hey, what's not sore? What can you work today, right? Can you work something? Do you have the energy to work something? So it's, we put ourselves under the demand of a super long workout, but then we adjusted accordingly going forward. And I think a lot of people will bury themselves by working out 5-6 days a week, and then put more constraints on themselves with like super low calories too. Mm-hmm. So that's where you've got to be mindful of the constraints that you're putting on yourself. So and we're going to get a little more into all of that. You need to jump in if you have things. I guess I'm just going to read off questions as we have them on here. So any thoughts or no? Okay. So big picture, again, going back to the spectrum, I think you can kind of oversimplify this, but break this down into one of two categories. Either A, you don't have enough constraints or restrictions on yourself, or B, you're over constricted, over restrained. I think that everybody that I've worked with, at least, generally, if I were to like, again, overgeneralize, I would say 99% of people are overly constrained, overly restricted. This kind of, it makes me think of like people who would say they're hard gainers, which is like someone who like thinks they're working out correctly all the time and they just can't put on muscle. And I don't know if I would have ever said I'm a hard gainer, but I think I would have fit into that category because it's like I worked out like a demon, but like the gains just weren't coming. And I still, to this day, every single bit of muscle I've had, like I've had to work my ass off for. None of it was like naturally there. But realizing along the way that like, oh, I'm actually working out too hard and I'm beating myself up too much, too long, and too frequently in the gym to actually experience growth. So for me, that was like, I guess I kind of realized, like I was my own first client. I realized that I actually get to like take a step back and dial it back a little bit in the weight room, and I'll experience better results. And lo and behold, like that is exactly what's happened. So the people I feel like who, again, most people that I'm working with, too many constraints. It's this chronic thing of over exercising, under eating. You're not like, just as an applicable, practical thing you can do right now, if you're averaging more than 1,000 calorie deficit every day, you're going to be in trouble very, very soon. It's not going to take a long time. And here's the other thing. Another thing to really think about is if you are in 1,000 calorie deficit or more per day and you're not hungry, that's not a good thing. That means you need to build back up your hunger. You might have to put on a little bit of weight. You need to take a break from super hard workouts and super, constrained, or I guess restrained. I don't think constrained is a word. Super restrained dietary practices. Because if you're like, here's how it works with me. If I'm in a 500 calorie deficit, which is normally what I would say the sweet spot for most people is like 500 to like maybe 1,000 calories. If I'm in a 500 calorie deficit for days on end, I don't really have much of a problem. I can float that, and most people can manage that. If you're in a 500 calorie deficit, 7 days a week, that's going to be an average of, at least mathematically, it's going to be a pound of weight loss per week. People think that's not enough, but then if you think, well, if I just did that over the long term of a year, a pound lost per week, that's 52 pounds that you just lost in a year, right? And one of my favorite sayings is that we overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 5, but then people won't stick with something where they're just losing a pound or two a week. But it's like, you're losing weight. That's kind of the whole point. If you start getting to where, I know with me, and I've seen this time and time again with clients, if you start getting to where you're 1,000 calories in the hole, it's only going to be about 3 or 4 days before your appetite gets out of control and all plans and all semblance of a diet flies out the window because you're just starving. And I know, like with you, like, you're in a bit of a deficit, but
yeah, usually I think it's gotten a little better lately, but usually I would, eat, gosh, what was it, like 1,200 calories I had eaten? And like I'd eat that several days in a row, and then by the weekend I'm just like, I need something. I need a sandwich. I need like a hamburger. Like I need something. I can't keep doing this. So just help you in the long term. If you get more calories in, you feel more satiated, and you don't have that need to like, I need a cheat meal. I need, 10,000 calories or something.
Right. Well, and also not with that. And this is where I think this is the crux of the matter. This is why I wanted to talk about exactly this today on the episode, was most people, when they're trying to do weight loss, they're on the extreme ends of the spectrum, right? They're lifting either way too hard or doing the wrong kind of exercises, and they're over-restricting. So they do this over-restricting thing like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and either it's like Holly said, like hunger just got out of control and she was like, I don't even give a shit. I'm going to eat what I want to eat this week. And that's exactly what would happen.
Yeah.
Which is, one of the things that kind of since October, I've said like, hey, it's okay if you splurge on calories, but track everything you eat, right? If you have a day where you just like, I don't even care, I'm eating everything I want, cool. but track it. I have to see what the calories are doing, because if you're going way over, like sometimes people go way over and they lose weight, right? There's something to be said for that. But I think most people will over restrict and over exercise such that when the weekend comes around, they either think like the cravings are out of control, so they think that it's time for a cheat meal, like once a week, or they, like the willpower is completely shot, right? Or like they pat themselves on the back for how hard they restricted and how hard they worked all week, and they think they get to kind of like take a step back and like blow it out of the water. And if you remember with you, like back towards like, throughout the holiday season and even like the first month of the year, the weight wasn't really budging a whole lot, right? Mm-hmm. Because you were trying to lose like what, 20, 25 pounds?
Yeah.
And by the way, she looks phenomenal. But one of my clients this morning, what'd she say about you? Just like she would kill to have your body or something in that regard.
Give her right leg.
Yeah. But when you were doing the 1,200 calories, like you said, and doing the workouts and everything, and things weren't really budging, I kind of sat down and was like, well, you're actually in a really big deficit just because of the workouts and because of the activity. And, there's a time and place for everything, but that wasn't it. That wasn't the time. So since we've done that, we've increased your calories. You're you probably float around 1,500 to 1,600 right now, at 5'3" and whatever, 130 something pounds. Now, lo and behold, like she has energy. She's in a good mood. Again, the weight's peeling off of her, right? Because now she has enough. So that's the thing I'm trying to get at with this spectrum is you can't over restrict for more than a couple days, really. I mean, some people might be able to get away with it for a couple weeks, depending on the amount of body fat you have to lose. But if you over restrict, your body is going to rebel against you, because your body doesn't give a shit about the six pack or the thigh gap or the lack of saddlebags or your triceps being defined. Your body doesn't give a shit about that. Your body cares about surviving. Your body cares about procreating and carrying on, your genes. There's a vested interest in that, right? So when you're in this super big calorie deficit and you're working out really hard, your body just sees that as a stressor, and it's got dozens and dozens and dozens of mechanisms and fail safes that it has in place to keep you from starving yourself to death. And if that means down regulating your thyroid, kind of slowing down your metabolism, making you cranky, even reducing the ability, your non-exercise activity, like all of these things, your body's going to compensate in dozens of different ways. And you, again, depending on the level of your goals, you have to be able to find that balance. You have to be able to say, like, maybe I'm over restricting, maybe I'm over constrained, and I need to like kind of take my foot off the gas a little bit. So
also like enjoying the foods that you eat. Like, so starting out, God, like we talked about this in a previous podcast, but like I had fast food at least once every day. And then it changed to like once a week. And then I was eating different foods and all kinds of meats and vegetables. And Andy told me at the beginning, like, your taste buds will change. Like, just keep going. And like they did. Like I went, I think the longest I've ever gone, I went like 8 months without a cheat meal because I enjoyed my food. Because I looked forward to it every day. And I had all kinds of variety. And like my treat for the day was like oatmeal and protein peanut butter before I'd go to the gym, and like I looked forward to that. I love my food, and I think that's a big thing of like people restrict, or they think they need like rabbit food where it's like a salad or chicken or boiled eggs.
Yep.
And it's just like you can't live off of that.
Well, and that's a great point too, because today, literally, like before we recorded this, we finished food prep, right? So what did we prep for food? It was everything that got cooked today. 8 pounds of turkey, 4 pounds of beef, I don't know what, probably like 12 chicken breasts, something like that. I cut up 1 head of green cabbage for like raw cabbage. I cut up 1 head of red cabbage with a bunch of beet greens and beets. Steamed that with some pumpkin pie spice and some stevia. So that she's actually been turned on to beets and loves them.
Really good.
We also did 6 white potatoes for her, like 6 pounds of sweet potatoes for me. California blend for you. So, cauliflower, broccoli, and carrots. And previous to kind of the last, I don't know what, maybe 6-7 months, when I cooked food, because I even did food prep for clients at one point in time. When I cooked food, it was just, let me cook the food. Let me, not season it. I'm going to cook it and I'm going to give it to you and you can season it later. Well, who knew if you actually season the food when you're cooking it, it comes out a lot better than just putting the seasoning in at the end of that. So that's something I discovered because she and I were having conversations of like, when I made the food, flavors, I am moderately robotic when it comes to that. Like if something tastes great, cool. But like, I also, if you give me plain chicken breast and I know I need to eat it to get healthier and to cut weight and stay lean, I'm eating the damn chicken breast. I don't care about the flavor. But so she and I were talking about all of that, and I started to realize that I looked forward to every single one of my meals because I'd be at home, I'd put seasoning on it, or maybe I'd use like the G. Hughes sugar-free barbecue sauce or something like that. And I asked her, like, well, how often are you looking forward to your meals? And the response was, like, there might have been one meal that she was looking forward to. And I actually remember because I'd send you off with proteins and with veggies just like I do now. But the one time I sent you and I said, have your dessert first, which I think at the time was yogurt with protein powder and mixed berries, right? So I'd take the protein powder. I take the yogurt, I take protein powder, mix it in there. So it's like, a chocolate or vanilla, protein pudding essentially at that point. And then put like a cup or two of fruit in there. And that was generally her last meal every single day. And she had something to look forward to. So she would choke down the carrots and the unflavored chicken and all that shit. And I remember the day that I told you, for whatever reason, I think we had a long workout that day, and I was like, hey, go ahead and have the fruit, get some carbs in you, that'll help you recover. You didn't have that to look forward at the end of the day. And I remember you telling me, like, yeah, don't ever tell me to do that again.
Yeah.
So, and just along the way, like, I don't remember what the epiphany was, but that's where I started seasoning everything. So kind of to touch on your point, like, eating healthy doesn't have to be rabbit food. It doesn't have to be boring,
flavorless,
drab, cardboard chicken, right? Like, so the next question would be, what do we do to season our food? We do a lot of seasoning blends. I have we have cupboards full of seasonings like, thyme and oregano and all this different stuff in there. But if I'm being honest, I kind of take the lazy approach to it. So we do like the Mrs. Dash blends. We go to Kroger for a lot of our groceries. Kroger has like these different like pre-made blends, like a smokehouse barbecue seasoning blend and like a Mexican something and a Jamaican jerk blend.
Yeah.
So they're like low sodium. Actually, I think salt free. So anyways, but like I season the stuff as I'm cooking it.
Like sweet potatoes or beets, you've been adding like pumpkin pie spice and stevia.
Right, yeah, like I said, like with the sweet potatoes, the beets, the cabbage, that's like a little bit of stevia, a little bit of, cinnamon. I just toss it all in olive oil, put it out in a pan, put it in the oven, and let it cook until the potatoes are kind of at their desired consistency, which for me is essentially mush. But yeah, you have to look forward to your food, otherwise you're not going to eat it, right? Mm-hmm. So again, that's just another way where if you're on that spectrum, if you're super restricted and you're putting all kinds of constraints on the food and you're not really enjoying your meals, how long do you think it's going to be before you say, fuck all this, I want a cheat meal, right? So, and to give you an idea of when should you have a cheat meal, working with a nutrition client right now. I will keep his name a secret because he's going to do kind of a big reveal on Instagram, and I can't even say that because that would kind of give things away. But he's going to post something as a reveal on Instagram, and he has so far down, I think from 231 down to like 210, and abs are popping, so looking good. But he is now in his 3rd month with me doing nutrition coaching, and he just had his first cheat meal last night. 3 months, had his cheat meal last night with pizza. So you don't need a cheat meal every single week, is basically what I'm trying to get at. Right now, if you need to do like with what Holly did, where when she started to lose weight, she was doing fast food every day, and her first thing, like we've talked about in the past, her first thing was to say, instead of doing fast food every day, I'm going to allow myself 1 day a week to have fast food. Then that's not a cheat meal. That's you just trying to keep your sanity because,
And
I don't know,
and like take a baby step forward.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and that's, ultimately what it is people try and take too big of a step forward. They end up on one end of the spectrum or the other, and then because of that, the body bounces back and responds to it, and like your chances of maintaining balance kind of go out the window. So, so yeah. Any?
Another thing that I think a lot of people go to, especially if you've never, worked out before, it's been hit or miss, is like a lot of people, my family included, go straight to cardio.
Yeah.
I think before I met Annie, the only working out I ever did was like I'd get on the cardio like maybe 3 times my whole life. So we never worked out, but like I've always seen like my parents do like a treadmill or that total body gym thing. Like it was
Right.
not a lot. But I think women especially, they go just straight to the cardio machines because that's what they think they need, and they're too afraid of the free weights and the machines, whether it's intimidation from like the meatheads down there, or they think they're gonna like get huge and jacked and look unfeminine, which is just not true unless you're doing like steroids or something like that.
Yeah.
But
I've been working out for 25 years. I still look feminine.
yeah. Just like balance. Like, yes, you need cardio, but you also need weights. Like, they're both going to help you. They're both going to help get that body composition that you actually want instead of being skinny fat from cardio.
Yep. Well, so in that, like, that's a whole episode in and of itself, right? But the long and the short version of it is like, yes, I think, again, spectrums, right? Are you on the cardio side of the spectrum? Or are you on the weightlifting side of the spectrum? I do think that most people who aren't very, I mean this in the best way possible, but they're not like really educated about like working out. They think I need to go run. I see we were at Planet Fitness today because that's like we have a membership at to just go do like our little bits of cardio or our 2-hour workouts. And we have like full on everything we need in the apartment as far as squat rack, barbell, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes it's just nice to change environment. When we were there, I saw people that were on the treadmill who were running and looked, they were hating every single step of that, right? Like they were just in pain. And I'm like, why? You don't have to do that. Like change it up. Mm-hmm. So I think the benefits to look, super short answer to that would be do whatever you don't want to do. Do whatever you suck at, right? So like a couple people, and I won't name names, but like a couple people that I've trained in the past or I currently train do a lot of cardio, and the weightlifting is really tough for them because they're like, they could go run miles, no problem, but it's like, hey, let's get underneath a squat bar. The body's not acclimated to that. So what does that mean? Well, that means that they're not good at it because the body's not acclimated to it. So putting that demand of, hey, we're actually going to do some resistance training with these legs now, or we're going to learn how to sit down with a weight on our back and stand up with a weight on our back. That's putting a new demand on the body, which is then going to like essentially get new hormonal stimuli going through the body. And that's going to give you something that like cardio doesn't do. So, but the people that are kind of, going back to the powerlifting side of things, people who they just want to go lift, because I've seen like some of the people that I've trained in the past or people that just kind of reach out and ask questions, like they might be a little heavier set. And it's easier in from my perspective, I would think it's easier to say, well, I'm heavier set. And if you have more tissue on your body, whether it's fat or muscle, if you have more tissue on your body, even if it's again fat, you're still going to have a stronger musculoskeletal system because it'd be like me and Holly throwing on a weight vest and walking around with a weight vest all the time, right? So you're building strength in your body. So it's easier to say like, well, I have more of me, I can move heavy weight around, so therefore I'm going to pursue lifting heavy. And again, if your goal is to like, hey, I want to be able to deadlift as a 5'4" woman, I want to be able to deadlift, 400 pounds. Like, shit, that's an awesome goal. Go for it, right? But if your goal is to like, I want to be able to lift heavy, but I also want to be healthy and I want to be around for a long time. Like powerlifters don't have the longest time, the lifespan, right? Because it's lift heavy, lift heavy, lift heavy, lift heavy, eat a lot, eat a lot, eat a lot, eat a lot. So I think sometimes people go to their, I think a lot of times people go to their comfort zones and they're afraid to tap on the things that are unfamiliar or maybe uncomfortable or maybe just downright tough. So how would doing cardio benefit someone who only lifts? Well, there's a certain level of cardiovascular fitness that you should maintain to just have. I mean, this, you're talking cardiovascular system, you're talking your heart and your lungs, right? Your circulatory system. So if those guys aren't pumping very good, that's kind of like, you're not going to have a good subway system if none of your rails are in operating order, right? Or if the trains aren't going anywhere. So doing more cardio, if you're someone who wants to lift, like if I were to say, hey, here's the recipe for losing weight and having an awesome, healthy body, I would say do like 70 to 80% lifting and do like 20 to 30% cardio, right? So look at cardio as just a lower intensity kind of thing. You're going to sweat. You're going to go get out some toxins, right? Because that's one way that's the only way that some toxins leave the body is like by sweating them out. So, but you're also improving that cardiovascular base, which then when you're doing a lifting session, how does that like provide benefit? You're able to recover quicker in between every single set that you're doing. So let's say someone who squats, you've got two people that squat, one person who squats who never does any cardio, the other person who squats does cardio a couple times a week. The person who's doing cardio a couple times a week is going to recover quicker. Their heart rate is going to come back down to normal and their circulatory system is going to be more efficient. So they're going to be able to get more squats in less time or the same amount of time as the person who never does any cardio. Mm-hmm. So our own training, because people have asked me this, like I posted a couple pictures on Facebook over the last like week or two. Like one was a back shot and one was an out or a side shot. And I had people messaging like, what do you do to look like that? What do you eat to look like that? And the workouts, like I think people were messaging just because they wanted to find kind of the secrets and the shortcuts. And like I made a Facebook post a couple of days later kind of joking about it. Like there are no secrets to this. It's not like, I think somebody reaches out to me and thinking I'm going to say like, hey, if you have a chicken breast behind the school at 3 p.m. and you face west on one foot, you're going to lose weight. It's not that, right? It's just, again, it's healthy food and it's movement. So what does our workout look like on a kind of 7-day basis? Well, we're doing like at least 4 lifting sessions and then we're doing like 2 to 3 cardio sessions. The lifting sessions are generally going to be, we're going to do 2 upper days and 2 lower days. We're basically going to do an upper push day and then a lower push day. And then we're going to do an upper pull day and then a lower pull day. And in between those, we're either going to do, if we're beat up, like on our Memorial Day, 7-hour, like 3-day workout binge, those next 2 days that we did something like we just walked or I think like maybe like light band work or something just to get the soreness out of the blood and again get the cardiovascular system pumping some of that waste material out so we would feel better. So kind of lost track of where I was going with that, but
just balance is key. And like we talked about, like it's basically the key to everything in life, but it's the hardest thing to do.
Right.
So like for me, I love lifting weights. I love, squatting or rowing or, any machines.
She loves cardio too.
I kind of hate cardio.
It's not kind of.
It's gotten better.
If she could, she would set fire to every treadmill she sees.
Yes,
it has gotten better. Fun fact, I made her cry last week. Was it last week or the week before? I think it was the week before. I think it was like Tuesday of the week before. I
don't have the best cardiovascular health. He can run after not running for months and like run miles and be fine. And I miss like 1 day of cardio during the week, and the next week it's like I haven't ran in like 3 weeks.
Right, but that comes down to like, and this is a side tangent, but like that comes down to genetics, right? Like you put tissue on easily, so like you build strength quick, right? When we were at the gym, 5-6 years ago, you got up to like a 265-pound squat, right? In a matter of like just weeks, right? You started like, I've never seen a barbell before. And then you're like, I'm squatting 265 back up.
Yeah.
And I remember having to like kind of slow down because at the time I was squatting 315. I was like, hang on now. Well, you're getting a little close. Hang on. So she puts on tissue and strength very quickly. Side effect with that is if she stops lifting weights and eats not healthy foods, she puts on fat much
Real
easier,
quick.
right? So I am going kind of back to that hard gainer thing. Like if you can't tell just by the percentage of who's talked most in this podcast, like I'm always going, right? Just dot.
Energizer bunny.
So, and part of that is it's hard for me to put on more muscle because I'm always going, I'm always moving, I'm always just moving, I'm always burning calories, right? And in order to put on muscle, you need to be in a massive calorie surplus. Not massive, but just a calorie surplus. Which, when I lost track of my thought, I was talking about our training. Like, our lifting days, our 4 days a week, that, you know, the upper push, lower push, upper pull, lower pull, those lifting sessions, if I were to put them on a scale of 1 to 10 intensity, 1 being like nothing, 10 being like holy hell, what the heck just happened, I would say most of them are probably about an 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
Right. I'm at least going to hit some body part dramatically hard, like the 5-minute, as many reps as possible, single leg Bulgarian split squats I did the other day, right?
Yeah.
My quads are still sore from that, and that was Wednesday.
We like sadistic things when it comes to workout.
Right, but so, and that, like, you don't have to like sadistic things, right? Just start doing something and being active. But those lifting days are super intense. The cardio days are going to kind of vary based on how do we feel, because cardio for us could look like, again, let's just go for a hike. Let's go for a walk. Let's walk 10,000 steps. Cardio could also look like, all right, we're going to do partner sprints on the assault bike, right? And you're going to sprint on the bike as hard as you can for 30 seconds, and then you're going to hop off, and then I'm going to hop on. And that's cardio for the day.
That's how he made me cry, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, she was supersetting velocity deadlift, so like deadlifting as quickly and explosively as she could with 30-second sprints on the bike, and five rounds of that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I came in to check on her because I think I was putting her food together or something for breakfast. And I came in to check on her, and she was sitting on the floor crying. And I was like, okay, so we're done with the deadlifts. Let's move on to the next thing.
It's just like my
You're competitive
system.
too.
Well, I'm competitive, but it also wasn't used to doing that high
Right.
intensity. And it's like I couldn't do anything but cry to release whatever pressure or stress my body was going through.
Sure.
But I'm very competitive too, so I don't like the fact that he was better at me.
You just got to get used to that.
Whatever.
But no, I like, and that's again kind of touching base on this. When it comes to both of us, like she's saying, with me, I am, you know, in relatively speaking, better cardio shape. My thing has always been, like, and I've mentioned this in the past, but like I love the phrase of, you know, outrun a lifter, outlift a runner. I want to be, I don't like lean because that makes me think skinny, but like I want to be athletic. I want to be defined. I want to like just look good, but also be able to move good and lift good. But I'm not worried about hitting a 400 something pound or anything higher than that squat or deadlift, right? I'm 44 years of age right now. I want to have like quality of life. I want to be able to hike. I want to be able to go run 10 miles one day and then do sets of 315 on deadlift the next day. Like, that's my happy spot. Mm-hmm. But all that being said, because if I were to put myself anywhere on the spectrum, I would say I'm a little more on the side of like explosive cardiovascular performance. Mm-hmm. If all things being equal and my joints could bear it, I would say I need to do more strength training, right? I just need to be intelligent with the strength training because like 20 years of basketball, it's not super knee friendly, right? So I can't just like pile on weight on front squats. With her, super healthy joints, in great shape, strong as hell, but the cardiovascular system is not quite where it needs to be. Mm-hmm. So if you're someone that's listening to this and you're like, I lift a lot, but the weight's not moving very much, how much cardio do you do? Because as your level of cardiovascular performance and efficiency increases, your body's ability to burn through fat is also going to increase. Right? So that's something to think about. If you're doing lifting however many days a week, but you never touch a treadmill or a bike or a rower or a jump rope or swim or any of that stuff, start doing those things. Because again, you're looking to find that balance. So start tapping that needle on the spectrum of what you do for exercise. Start tapping it over to the other side. So I want to kind of read through some of the notes here to make sure that we've answered all of these questions. So the very top one, we have not. How do you know when it's time to take some of the constrictions off? So this is where you improving your awareness, improving your mindfulness of your mental, physical, and emotional bits and pieces. That is super critical, because things that will tell you it's time to like either take a break for a week or two or maybe a couple months would be things like your sleep quality. Is your sleep suffering? Do you have really interrupted sleep? That's going to have something to do with blood sugar and cortisol, most likely. I mentioned earlier, if you're in a massive calorie deficit, and I would put that as anything above like 1,000 calories, if you're in a regular massive calorie deficit and you're just not hungry, that is a surefire effing sign to take a break, to lower those constraints and get more food in and maybe dial back. You don't have to quit the exercise, but like dial back on the super intense stuff, right? So because you have to think of like you're in a point where you're trying to heal your body. So sleep quality, levels of hunger, how quickly do you recover from workouts, right? Do you do a workout on Monday and you still feel it like 4 days later? Then that's, you probably have a lot of inflammation in your body. Your body's not recovering properly. How's your digestion? Is your digestion really sluggish? Do you eat a meal and it just kind of sits there? That can be caused by other things too. So depending on like what foods are you eating, are you taking enzymes, what's your microbiome look like? But if you generally have good digestion and everything is kind of slowed down and sluggish, that might be another key that you need to take off some constraints. Overall stress levels, right? Do you feel like you're overwhelmed and irritable and everything is just pissing you off, right? Or just again making you like that would be a sign too. So, that's the things that come to mind. Like I said, sleep, hunger, your ability to recover, your digestion, your levels of stress. There's actually another guy in the coaching space that refers to this as shreds, right? SHREDS. And I think it stands for sleep, hunger, recovery, energy, digestion, and stress. Sleep or stress, if I get the S's mixed up. So, it's kind of the acronym I'm always thinking about, and I'll ask people like my guy who had the pizza last night, when he's asked me for permission for a cheat meal several times now, and when I finally gave him the go ahead, I was like, how's everything been? And really, I don't want to say he didn't deserve the cheat meal because he's cleaned things up and has kicked ass, but like he could have gone without it. But at the same time, like it's a mental thing too, right? So if you mentally feel restricted all the time, but your sleep is great, your hunger is great, energy, like all that, but you're mentally like, fuck, I need a break, take a break, right? And then the biggest thing with that is, like I told him, is, hey, if you have that pizza tomorrow, like what are you going to do for your workout tomorrow? And his answer was he was just going to do like cardio and abs. So I asked him, like, what body parts have you done recently? And he said, he's done legs, chest, and then back and arms. And I asked, this is Sunday that we're recording this, so this was Saturday when I was talking to him. I said, what day did you do back and what day did you do legs? And I asked those two body parts specifically because there's a lot of muscle in your legs and there's a lot of muscle in your back, right? Chest would have been fine too, but like you want to work areas where there's a lot of muscle that's going to use a lot of calories, because your muscles are one of the best sugar absorbers in your entire body. So he had all that pizza, and like the game plan, I need to check in with him and bust his ass if he hasn't. It's been a busy day. I haven't had a chance to text him back. But the game plan was for him to do a really hard back workout today, because, and that's what she and I will do, if we do a really high calorie day, then that next morning we're going to hit a specific body part, or maybe do one of our 2-hour like mega workouts, but we're going to put those calories to use. We're going to, if it's a lagging body part and you have a really high amount of calories one day, then that next day put those calories to use and hit that body part that you feel like you could be better at, right? So
I did that this weekend, and we did that Saturday?
Yesterday, yeah.
We ate bigger meals. I think I was at like 2,700 calories and high on fats and proteins.
That was Friday when we went over, but yeah.
Yeah, and the next day for the workout, we did a 2.5 hour workout, but I felt amazing during it. Like I felt great, energy was there, and just like having fun and playing in the gym.
Yep. So with that too, and again, like we do that because we enjoy being in a gym for 2 hours, right? 3 hours, like that's where we met. Working out was a passion for me and like an escape for me before I became a trainer and nutrition coach and all this. So we enjoy being in there. I'm not saying, hey, if you have a cheat meal, you have to go and do a 2-hour workout. There are other answers to that. Like you could, if you have a calorie surplus one day, but your goal is weight loss, then the next day just put yourself into a bigger calorie deficit. Again, balance with that, because you can get into the stage of like binging one day and then like, overly restricting the next, which kind of goes back to what I was talking about most people do. Monday through Thursday, they over restrict, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's like just bar and drinking and eating whatever the hell they want to do. You need to start implementing things to stop that excessive like swing back and forth. It like what I would say is balance 80-85% of the time, and then throw in chaos 10 to 15% of the time, right? 20% of the time, something to just kind of change it up. So again, if you're powerlifting all the time and you're only lifting weights, not even powerlifting, you're only lifting weights, do that 80-85% of the time, and then do cardio 10 to 15% of the time. Don't totally ignore it. If you are putting yourself into a 500 calorie deficit all the way across the board, and you've been doing that for weeks or months, and you feel like, like the weight loss is kind of slowing down to a crawl, and I'm just not seeing results, and man, I just don't want to work out anymore. I just don't have the motivation to go work out. I would say give yourself a day where you like double or triple your carbohydrate intake and see what carbohydrates do for you, because sometimes that alone will be enough to like really like, kind of reset leptin levels and give yourself some more motivation and give yourself some energy to be like, I'm going to go hit the gym because I had whatever, 500 grams of sweet potatoes yesterday. But you can also, even like fasting is something that you can work into having a cheat day. So there are options. I don't want everybody out there thinking that you have to do a 3-hour or 2-hour workout if you have a higher amount of calories. So to answer that question, how do you know it's time to take the constrictions off? Basically, if any of those, markers that I mentioned are not optimal and are suffering, don't ignore them and pay attention to them. How are you feeling mentally, physically, emotionally? If you're exhausted, if you're emotional, if you're crabby, if you're irritable, and that lingers for more than a day or two, it's probably time to take some constrictions off. The next follow-up is what happens if you don't take those constrictions off. Well, that's, like I said, your body's got those mechanisms. It's got those fail-safes to make sure that you don't die, right? Or it's going to do as much as it can to make sure you don't die. So it's going to down-regulate the production of a bunch of different hormones. One of the things your body does, so essentially if you are over-constrained, you can look at that as also being overstressed, right? So, because if you think about like, well, I need to stop eating these foods that I really like, I'm going to work out more, that's more stress that you're putting on your body. Your body's response to stress is cortisol. When your body is saying, well, we need more cortisol being produced, then it's taking the building blocks of your sex hormones, your testosterone and your estrogen, and it's making cortisol. It's making more cortisol. So now you're putting yourself into a state where not only are your adrenals pumping out cortisol, just trying to keep you going because it's thinking that you're getting chased by a tiger 7 days a week. It doesn't know that you're just in a 1,000-calorie deficit and working out at boot camp 7 days a week. So it's going to start down-regulating all of that, right? It's going to pump up cortisol. Your adrenals are going to get taxed. You're not going to have testosterone. Your estrogen levels are going to be all out of whack. So that's something to think about. Libido drops down. Like that's another thing that you can pay attention to as far as like how do I know when it's time to take the constrictions off? If your libido is in the toilet, right? That's something to think about, right? If you're lethargic, like all of these things are warning signs, and I think we see it as frustration because it's like my body's not cooperating with me, I'm eating less and I'm working out harder and it's not losing weight. It's because your body is saying, hey, I don't want to die, right? Your body wants to just basically like, again, procreate and it's like that's the mission is continue the genes, right? Get them out. It doesn't care about any of that other stuff. So what happens if you don't take off your constrictions for too long? And it comes, I do consulting work for a weight loss clinic too, and I cannot tell you the number of patients that I've spoken with for them who have been on very low calorie diets for a very long period of time, very low carbohydrate diets for a long period of time, and maybe they saw some initial weight loss, but now it's like no matter what they do, the weight won't budge. And 90% of the time with them, when I say, hey, we're actually going to increase your food, the first thing that happens is they start losing weight. So go figure, right? But then it's a balance, and you can't just continue to eat more and more and more and expect to lose weight. You got to eat more. And then when some of those biomarkers start to come back, and maybe your sleep improves, or your hunger starts to come back, or you're recovering better from your workouts now because you're actually having carbohydrates. You're not like, putting up like the skull and crossbones, like fear of carbohydrates like a vampire. You start eating more, you recover better, those biomarkers come up, and now you can start back at it. So did you have something?
No.
No, you're like creeping up on me. I thought you were going to say something. So what does this next question say? If you're not restricted enough, you either haven't started or just... Oh, yeah. So, no, that was a thought I had where I think I touched base on this, but basically, like, most of the people that I'm working with or who I just see in general, they're overly restricted, right? If you're wondering, am I overly restricted or under restricted? Generally, and again, I hate generalizations, but God, I say them a lot. Generally speaking, if you are just starting out into your fitness routine, or maybe like you're not even really conscious of wanting to lose weight, you're not really even conscious of I see you opening a gum wrap, and I just totally get. I was like, would you be able to make it without a piece of gum? If you're just starting your fitness routine, or you're not even really cognizant of it, that's the situation where you probably don't have enough constraints, right? Because you haven't really thought about, like, what do you want to give up? What are you willing to sacrifice to get to where you're going? Have you even thought about, like, okay, I want to lose weight. Well, how much and how long of a time? Like, you need to understand these things. And I've talked about that in past episodes. Like, make it tangible goals. Okay, I want to lose 50 pounds. How long? A year? 2 months? Like, what's realistic? Well, let's say a year. If you want to lose 50 pounds in a year, then in 6 months, you should be down in 25 pounds. And if you're doing 25 pounds in 6 months, that's about 4 pounds a month. That's about a pound a week, right? So you have to make these tangible goals along the way, and understand, like, what are you willing to sacrifice? What constraints are you willing to put on? But pretty much, if you've been at this for a while, if you've been working out hard and you've been trying to eat better and you've been trying to push yourself and you're reading books, I've made this all just about weight loss, but just improving yourself in general, you're probably either at the right amount of constraints and restrictions or over constrained and over restricted. So it doesn't seem like a lot of people that we come across, or at least that are reaching out to us for help, are great about setting in those breaks. About, like, I think there's almost a fear of, hey, I've been going for 6 months and I've been losing weight and I'm not losing weight anymore. To which I would say, okay, well, we need to change some things up. And maybe in the question and answers that I'm going through with the people, I determine that they need to take a diet break. You would think I'm telling them, hey, we're going to put that 50 pounds that you lost, we're going to put that back on right now, and you can't work out for the next 6 months. I'm trying to tell it, like, just take 2 weeks and eat whatever the hell you want, and we'll go right back to it. That is one of the hardest things to do because...
Terrifying.
Right. Again, like Holly said a couple minutes ago, I'm asking someone to take what their comfort zone is at that moment, being over-restricted and over-exercised and everything, and that's their current form of balance. And I'm saying, hey, we actually need to knock that out. We need to impose that 10 to 15% of chaos in on that and kind of like knock your body around a little bit so it knows what's going on. And the person either will not do it whatsoever, even though they say they're going to. When I look at their chronometer and like, how are they eating? It's like nothing has changed. Or maybe they had like an extra half a cup of green beans. It's like, whoa, slow down there. Or they have just completely flown off, and it's, okay, hey, it started with like a piece of pizza, and then it's like ice cream, and then it's da 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 right down the road. So it's hard to find that balance when you're putting more chaos into the system. So, but yeah, so as far as restrictions, you're probably over restricted unless you're just starting out on that.
Right.
Jeff.
No, I agree.
So we already talked about, like, if they're just starting the journey, most people are probably leaning towards cardio. Again, cardio serves its purpose, and hell, like, I've had people do that. If someone comes to me and they need to lose, 50, 80, 100 pounds, I'll start them with cardio. I'll start them with just go for a walk, right? Just get out and get active right now. It's where are you at right now? what could you do to take one step forward? It's not, hey, I'm on the couch 5 days a week. I need to go run, 3 miles every day. When's the last time you ran a mile? Never. You don't need to do 3 miles a day.
Right.
You gonna say something?
I'm just saying, my mom, like, I'm proud of her. She's I think I'm saying the name right, Leslie Sampson.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I thought you were saying Leslie Samsung yesterday. I was like, that's a hell of a name. I was like, that's like Holly Nintendo. No.
Samson, I think. With like at home stepping videos, and she just started doing that 4 times a week, and like she's still not eating the best, but she eats some vegetables here and there, does different things. But she just started doing that stepping video. I think it's like 30 to 45 minutes, 4 times a week. She said she feels so much better. Her body's not as stiff, and I think she's been at it for like a month or so. She's already lost 11 pounds.
Boom.
So just starting with baby steps can make a huge difference. And, even just feeling better will make you want to do more. Make you want to, improve upon that. And losing weight make you keep going.
Yep.
So
results
baby steps
are one of the best motivating things that we all have.
Yeah.
So, all right, continuing down, people get in comfort zones. We talked about that, like people only doing weights, only doing cardio, and how like one of the best things you can do is get out of your comfort zone and do the thing that you're not doing.
Yeah.
Benefits of weight training versus benefits of cardio. Again, talked about that, but like essentially, summary is benefits of cardio: quicker to recover, better overall like longevity and health, easier fat loss. Your body is just going to be running more efficiently. Benefits of weight training, obviously growing muscle, strengthening muscle, getting your central nervous system incorporated, making yourself more athletic, making yourself more resilient, strengthening your bones, making yourself harder to kill, hormonal stimulus, right? So there's a lot to be said for like weightlifting, increasing testosterone in the body, and that's something that men and women both need. You need testosterone to lose weight, to have a good libido, to be healthy, right? There's a reason like testosterone is so important in the world, because yes, too much of it can be a problem, but most people don't need to worry about having too much of it, right? Unless you're doing like TRT or, injecting something somewhere.
Right.
So, but yeah, weight training, I mean, and that's just grazing the surface of the benefits of that. But I would look at weight training, if you really want to oversimplify this very grossly, weight training is going to create the sculpture underneath the marble, and cardiovascular will help show the sculpture under the marble, right? So you're kind of chipping away at it, but it's got to be that multifaceted attack where you're lifting weights to grow the muscle, to keep the muscle, to give your body that hormonal stimulus, and then you're doing the cardiovascular to recover, to ensure like cleansing of toxins, to ensure recovery, to just ensure optimal health. So, and we haven't talked about stretching, but like stretching is right in there with both of those. So, the last little bits, I'll come to that here in 2 seconds. We're about to do the Q&A, but the last little bits, and this is, balance is, like how I said this earlier, but balance is the key to life, but it's one of the hardest things to do. And it is, because it's hard to do, because you have to, it's a constant, where am I at? 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 It's mindfulness, right? How's my sleep? How's my food? How's this? How's that? How's my workouts? Did I lift more last week? Did I do more reps last week? It's exhausting, but again, this is where the level and intensity of your goal is going to dictate the level and intensity of the balance required for that goal, right? So if you just want to lift some heavy-ass weights, get in the gym, lift some heavy-ass weights, and don't worry about the cardiovascular side of things, right? But if you want longevity, if you want to, look like a superhero, if you want to have like optimal mental performance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then you need to put more constraints on, and then you need to be able to pay attention to, okay, those constraints are knocking me out of balance. I need to take them off for a little bit and then put them back on, right? So there's work to all of this. And if you're unsure how to do that, like I know a couple of good coaches, but some of the content that we put out in the near future too, I'm sure we'll go over this and we'll talk much more on this, because I think it's such an important side of thing, or aside of all of these things, if I could talk. So were you just pointing to the questions, or was there something that you wanted to touch on right then and there? So I'll save that for another episode. But all right, so we put out a couple feelers to people, and we're asking for questions. So anytime, if you have questions and you would like them answered on the Nutrient Health Project podcast, then it just feels good to say that again on camera. When I was running around doing like the food prep and cleaning the apartment, I was like happy and excited. And this is how I know this is what we need to be doing. So thank you for everyone that reached out and asked where we were and said that you missed the content. You definitely got our asses back in the seat, and it feels good to be here. What was I saying right before that?
Talking about questions.
Questions. So if you have questions, there's a number of ways to get them. If you have either one of our phone numbers, just text them to us, Telegram us, whatever. Facebook Messenger works. What else? So you can email us at YouTube. Comment on this. You can email us at nutrient. HAF for health and fitness. I almost said Holly Andy first. Nutrient. That's you. But nutrient HAF at gmail.com. Just put them in there. But basically, like every episode, I want to try to answer some questions. So that being said, let's start with what Alan sent, because he had some pretty good questions. My buddy Alan sent 3 good questions. Let's start with the first one. What has changed in our programs? So if you're listening to this, you obviously can't see us. If you're not familiar, the videos are up on YouTube too, generally the same day or the day after I upload the audio of the podcast. So YouTube, Andy Frisch, you'll find the videos on there. But he asks, what has changed in your programs? You're looking leaner but more dense in terms of muscle. So this is a perfect opportunity to kind of describe what our lifting sessions generally look like. There's a certain structure to them, whereas before 8 months ago, there wasn't really much structure. We would know the body part we wanted to hit, but above and beyond that, there wasn't much to it. So our workouts, and again, I don't want to get super detailed in on this, but like there's a basic structure of the workout. So it starts like this. We will do a warm-up, which is going to be anywhere from like 2 to 4 exercises. We're going to do almost always 3 rounds of that. Sometimes if we're already, heated and we're good to go, we'll do 2, but it's almost always 3 rounds. And there have been times where if I'm like, I need more rounds, I'll do 4 or 5 rounds. So basically trying to do the warm-ups to where we feel like the supporting muscles and the stabilizing muscles are pumped and good to go. So we'll do those 2 to 4 exercises, generally for like at least 10 reps, but generally more in the 20 to 30 reps range. So what that would look like is if we're going to do back or chest or something, we're going to do like high rep dumbbell work, like bicep curls, overhead extensions for the triceps. We're going to basically get like biceps and triceps full of blood. We'll do like some shoulder mobility, like, black burns or band pull apart, stuff like that. But we'll do those 2 to 4 exercises for generally 20 to 40 reps. Again, lightweight, like 30 to 50% of what we would do normally as a working set. After we make it through those 2 to 4 exercises for, the generally 3 rounds, then we're probably going to do like our one big like meat and potatoes set. So if like super simple upper push day, that's going to be some kind of a bench press, whether it's barbell or dumbbell or chaos or alternating, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Upper pull, that's going to be some kind of a row. Again, barbell row, chest supported row, landmine row, dumbbell row, blah, 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 blah. Lower push is going to be some form of either lunge or squat. She's still plenty good doing squats. I don't do a ton of squats. If I do squats, it's going to be front squats, but I do a ton of single leg work. So it's me like doing split squats with like, 50s in each hand or 70 in one hand or something like that. And then lower pull day, basically some form of a deadlift or some form of like glute and lower back work. So we'll do the warm-up, and then we'll do that main working exercise to really like kind of tax the body. And again, how we do it, there's a million different ways. Sometimes we're going to go slower for more reps. Sometimes we're going to go heavy for less reps. Sometimes we're going to go explosive like Holly was talking about with the deadlifts and the bike riding, right, where she wanted to cry. Probably won't do that again for at least the rest of the day today, maybe tomorrow. But so we're going to do that big lift. And again, it might be 8 sets of 3. It might be 3 sets of 8. It might be 6 sets of 10. That's always going to vary. But again, it's always a variety. We're always doing something different. And then after we get done with that big main lift, then we're going to branch off into anywhere from like anywhere from like 1 to 3 supersets of anywhere from 2 to 3, sometimes even 4, like accessory lifts. So sometimes that's exactly what we did for the warm up. We'll do after the big main lift, but we'll increase the weight and we'll make it tougher. So we'll be doing like drop sets or AMRAPs, as many reps as possible or as many rounds as possible. We'll do EMOMs. I'm a myo rep. So what a myo rep is, if you're not familiar, myo reps is basically like you're gonna do something that's like 50% of what your normal like heavy working weight would be, and you're gonna do as many reps as you can. So let's say you do for myo reps, you're gonna do dumbbell bench press after you've done your barbell bench press. So you're gonna do dumbbell bench press with like 50% of whatever you use at the barbell. And you're going to do as many as you can. So let's say you get 20 reps and you stop at the end of that 20 reps and you give yourself like 2 big deep breaths. It's literally like 5, maybe 10 seconds. And then you do another set of an AMRAP and you're going to get about a fourth to a third of what you've got. So if you've got 20, you're probably going to get another like 8 to 12. You stop and you give yourself another 2 big deep breaths, another 5 to 10 seconds. And then you do that again. You do another AMRAP. And then you do that one last time. So basically in myo reps, and that's one of our favorite kind of like finishing things that we do, is 4 AMRAP sets with about 5 to 10 seconds rest in between each one, right? So it's a killer, it's a cooker, but again, it's a great way to bring up lagging body parts. So specifically like what Alan was asking is like I look leaner but more dense. That's the structure of the workouts as we finish with those like, anywhere from like 1 to 3 supersets, and we push and we make those, they burn, they hurt, right? But it's like we chase that, we love that feeling. But it's also been adding in a bunch of exercises that I didn't used to like doing, like overhead tricep extensions, right? They used to feel kind of wonky. Now I've done it so much, and I started light. I've done it so much now that it's just like, I love doing those. We've been doing a bunch of like dead bugs, mountain climbers, planks, hollows, and almost damn near every day. And we've been doing them with like hip circles, right? So we're putting that short band around your legs to increase the resistance on those. So you're going to get a much stronger core if you do more dead bugs, more hollows, more planks, and more mountain climbers than more crunches. Like crunches, if you're doing 100 crunches as a finisher, okay, great. But above and beyond that, that's not how you get a holy cow 6-pack. Yeah. But those are training-wise what I would really say I've changed up as far as the structure of our daily workouts, of the lifting sessions. But there's also something to be said for making sure that we optimized hormones, right? We got blood work done back in like September and kind of looked at where we were. So I've been doing a lot for both of us with supplements to optimize testosterone and estrogen and everything. Again, we've made jokes about it, but like where most people have dishes, we have supplements. So there are, someday, and I'm sure I'll put together content because I want to talk about it bad enough to where it needs to be explained. I'm sure I'll put together a list of like every supplement that we have and what the purpose is, and why do we take it, when do we take it, how often, and all that. But we've been doing things to optimize hormones, especially, and if anybody's curious, like the things that we do on a pretty regular basis, one of them is called Sustantia tuberosa. That one specifically will boost your luteinizing hormone, which then helps boost testosterone. So we are doing Sustantia. We do Shilajit. Shilajit is a form of fulvic acid. It's basically just giving your body a bunch of trace minerals and building blocks that it needs to be healthy. So look up both of those, Sustantia tuberosa, Shilajit. I also will throw in some Tongat Ali for myself. I don't really give you much of the Tongat. And most recently, we've actually started playing around with beta ectosterone, which is actually insect steroids, believe it or not. But it's like what insects will use if they're like molting. I don't know if that's the right word, but like they're shedding their skin. They've actually the beta ectosterones have steroid-like properties, meaning that they help with like muscle hypertrophy and recovery, but they are not androgenic, so they don't act on the male sex hormones. They're actually they act on, I think, the estrogen receptors. So this is all way above and beyond the topic of this podcast, but just, I guess, the long short version of that would be taking supplements to make sure that our hormone levels are also optimized. 24/7, 365. So, or at least as close as we can get to it. So, anything else in terms of what we've done to look more dense? The other thing is just cutting out bullshit.
Yeah.
Completely like.
We've done that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like, alcohol would be something that would creep in from time to time. Alcohol is just completely gone. Haven't touched a drop of it this whole entire year. We make it a priority if we're getting up at 3 to get our ass in bed by 6:30 or 7 o'clock.
Not eating late at night or a lot at night.
Not eating. And again, sometimes there are days where if I go to bed and I'm like, shit, I'm in a 1,200 calorie deficit because I didn't get enough food earlier, I'll get some sweet potatoes before I go to bed and I'll wake up feeling like $1,000,000. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's the training has changed, the supplement has changed, but also just being responsible and accountable for what we're trying to do has changed.
Yeah.
So I would say listening to our bodies. I would say putting on more constraints, but, and this might sound funny, but like putting on more constraints, but constraints that don't feel like constraints. It's like just being an adult. I mean, who knew, right? Go figure. So we have a goal and we're living in alignment with it and the results are showing up. It's like, well, shit. Okay. So that's really all you got to do is A, what's the goal? B, what do you need to do to get to the goal? C, do that. D, repeat, right? Yeah. Results will show up. So that's the main way I would answer that question, Alan. So thank you for that. He's got 2 others. I think these are a little more interesting. So the second one, what keeps you motivated after all these years? I'll let you.
So I wrote down a couple of things. Wanting to live a long, healthy, happy life. I don't want to be overweight and feel uncomfortable in my own skin. I don't want to not be able to be healthy. Like I put on here, like I don't want to get diseases related to food, like diabetes or cancer or anything like that. That's gonna make me not enjoy life or make life harder, or make me have to fight for my life to be able to enjoy it. So that's a big thing, is like I want to have as long and healthy and happy life with Annie as long as I can. Another thing is just feeling good in my own skin. Before I lost all my weight, I just felt uncomfortable all the time. I felt like uncomfortable in my clothes. They didn't fit right. I felt like people were looking at me. Like I just felt embarrassed and ashamed. And I want to be, since I've lost my weight and kept it off, like it's just, I feel good about myself. Like I feel comfortable in my own skin. I feel great with the clothes that I wear. And
size 2 jeans.
Yeah. I wrote down, like, I remember the very first time I lost my 90 pounds and I had to go get new clothes, and I fit into a size 2 pair of jeans, and I've never in my life fit into that. Never thought it was possible. Just not thought it wasn't for me. I'm a bigger girl. My family's bigger. We're emotional eaters. Like it just wasn't for me. And to finally see that and fit into it and fit into all the, cute clothes that I never thought I'd be able to, that feeling was greater than any food out there, than any 2 minutes of mouth pleasure and then feeling empty after you ate it. Like you feel that way with your clothes, and you get to continue to feel that way, and you just feel great, and it makes a whole difference in your outlook on life. Another thing is just like, I want to feel good for myself. I want to look good for myself, but I also want to look good for my husband. And I know he loves me regardless of what I look like.
But mission accomplished.
But you know, when we got married, he was attracted to me physically and the way that I looked, and you know, I want to keep that up. I want him to continue to be attracted to me and chase me, and you know, I want to be that way for him as well. So.
When she says chase her, like literally, I will chase her ass around the apartment. I'm like, come here, bring me them butt cheeks, girl. Where are you going?
Oh my god.
So yeah, no, I mean that's all very, very good.
Yeah.
If I were to answer what keeps you motivated after all these years, shit. I mean, so like a lot of what you touched on, right? Like I want to be around as long as possible. I am a very life positive person, right? I mean, you see me like we'll watch a YouTube video and I'll just get emotional and cry because I'm just like blown away by the beauty of something, right? Of a tidal wave or a fucking
nature,
butterfly flying,
animals,
right? So I love life, and I don't just mean like nature. Like I want to read books, and I want to like go on hikes, and I want to experience the world, and I want to help people. Like all of these things that I want to do, I can't do any of that if I'm, number one, dead. Number two, if I'm not healthy, right? So like I want to, I want to be able to do those things as my fullest, like realized, actualized, optimized self, because I don't want to go. One of the places I really want to go see is the Coliseum. And again, talking about crying, like I know I'm going to bust into tears when I see the Coliseum for the first time with her, because it's been something that's just for whatever reason, it's like I want to go see the Coliseum. I think that's going to be so cool. What good does it do me to go see the Coliseum if I can't walk up the damn steps without my knees killing me every time, right? So like that's why a big part of our training has also been working on mobility and incorporating stretching throughout the day and not sitting on my ass all day long, right? So I would say one of the things that's kept me motivated all these years is that I want to be my best self. But I also, like, I tease her from time to time, you know, when she's like, how are you still going? How are you doing this? I'll tell her, like, I'm haunted. Like I literally am haunted because I've lost a lot of friends along the way. I've had friends get shot. I've had friends get killed by drunk drivers. I've had friends overdose on pills, overdose on cocaine. I've had friends die in like army accidents. And it's that Dylan Thomas, you know, rage against the dying of the light. Like I am not going to just go lightly, right? Like I'm like honey badger ferocious here. I'm not going to fold very easily. And a lot of what I do, which raises eyebrows, like daily cold showers or riding around in my car in the middle of 90 degree, 100 degree heat with my heat on full blast and the windows shut. The reason I do that is because I want to make myself more resilient. I want to make myself harder to kill. And a big requirement for that is getting out of your damn comfort zone. So that's why I do a lot of shit. Like I'm basically at my most comfortable when I'm uncomfortable, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I want to be here for a long time. And I feel like another, I guess, a big answer to that is I feel like I pissed away my 20s and my 30s. I pissed away in my 20s and 30s, and I've talked about this in the past, but like basically by over-medicating with food and drugs and alcohol and everything, because I didn't realize like, oh, I can actually do kind of awesome things in this world. You know, I just thought like my brain won't shut up, so I'm just going to numb it and, you know, just kind of shut it up. And again, like, you know, 20 years of that, you look back and you're like, fuck, like, what did I do? So I'm haunted and I'm a man possessed with the fact that like I have a lot of making up to do. I have a lot of in my head. I may not owe anybody anything, but I feel like I do. I feel like I owe the world something, right? Because I was basically just a very self-centered, selfish individual. Even if I didn't intend to be, it's just who I was because I was too busy worrying about shutting my brain up and medicating myself and coming up with excuses and alibis for not doing something. So that's what keeps me motivated, is just like I'm trying to undo 20 years of dumbass decisions. I'm trying to grow up. And that's actually, Mike, if you're still listening at this point, that's one of the best compliments I got from my high school buddy, was saying that they binged the episodes of the podcast and his wife said I've really grown up and matured a lot. I don't know how true that is. but I like to think it is. So yeah, that's what keeps me motivated. Is I want to be the baddest ass version of myself, and I want to show every other human being who gives a shit about it. I want to show them how to do it for themselves too. So, the last question Alan had was, who has been your biggest fitness influence? So,
I was talking to Andy about this earlier, and I feel like especially if you're female, you see a lot of fitness influencers who were just on there kind of like booty pics or cardio or rabbit food, and that's not really what I'm into. I like doing hard workouts with Andy. I like doing hard boot camps. We like sadistic things sometimes, you know, like pushing yourself, see how far you can go. I mean, we had a 3-hour boot camp multiple times, and that was like fun and exciting for us. So there's a couple people that I've come across who have rang true to me, in that they're, you know, about empowering yourself and being a strong woman. You know, you don't have to be skinny, and you don't have to be afraid of weights, but you can lift heavy, and you can feel good, and you can look like a superhero.
Yeah. You can lift heavy weights and still look feminine.
Right. And there's like 3 people specifically. I hope I'm saying her name right. Sonata Greca.
Yeah.
Is that how you would
That's
say it?
how I would think it.
If you haven't seen her, look her up. I think she may be on YouTube, but I know she's on Instagram. I know she has her own fitness app, and she's what I aspire to be. She is like completely shredded and strong. And
again, the name is Sonata Greca. It's Senada, and then Greca, Greca. She is, so kind of what she touched on. There are a ton of fitness influencers. I mean, you know, hundreds of thousands, and there's new ones popping up every day. If you just go to their page and you scroll down, and the ratio of ass shots to actually beneficial information is heavily tilted to the ass shots, it's you know, probably not much beneficial on the page for you, unless you want to learn how to take a great ass shot. I guess you can look at the lighting of it or something.
Right.
Sonata is one that's like ridiculously defined. She's in great shape, but she's also got like her exercises that she puts up are great and creative, and like that's another thing. Like the fitness influencers are the ones that are on there with like the 5-pound dumbbells, doing like dumbbell RDLs, and like, I'm gonna work my glutes today. I was like, with those 5-pound dumbbells? No, you're not. Yeah. So Sonata and the other ones that you're talking about, like when I've seen their content, like it's good content. They're giving you good information. So
right. So like Sonata, she's someone that I like and I watch, and that I would inspire to be like and look like. Katie Hearn. I believe she's on Instagram mostly, but she has her own app. She's also like a huge entrepreneurial person. She has like several businesses, and she lifts weights. She has more to her than just, you know, booty shots and all of that. Like, she lifts weights. She has great programs. She makes you know it's okay to lift heavy weights, and you're gonna, you know, still look great, still look feminine. And then Tia Claire Toomey, she's one of the greats in CrossFit. She's, what is this, like 4th or 5th time she's won?
I don't even know.
CrossFit Games?
4 or 5 times, something like that. She's an animal.
I feel like 4 or 5. So she holds the record. And she is like a beast. Like, she can like beat the women, like she can beat men. Like, she's just like incredible at what she does, and I love watching her in the games. I love watching her on YouTube or Instagram, and she does look more like a CrossFit athlete. I don't particularly want to look like a CrossFit athlete. You just have more muscle, more bigger midsection,
that blocky midsection,
than I personally want. But she's definitely inspiring, and she, you know, you see the things that she does, and she pushes you and motivates you, and she's a strong, athletic woman, and that motivates me, absolutely. So,
Well, that's all good, too. So, Sonata Greca, Katie Hearn, and Tia Claire Toomey. Yeah. For me, like, fitness influence, I mean, there are some people that come to mind. My influences are so kind of all over the board. There are a lot of people who, I guess the ones when I say they influence me is like the people that are helping me with mindset, with tackling big audacious goals, right? So those are the people like the Tim Ferrisses of the world, Ryan Holiday, Tom Bilyeu, right? Like, so these are people who aren't necessarily anybody in the fitness space. They've been on fitness podcasts, but they've all done like these just big audacious things, launched like multiple, billion-dollar companies, or just written multiple, 5, 6, 7, 8 books. But I'm trying to think when it actually comes down to fitness people influencing me. I like the people who really get into the weeds of it all, because again, like one of the things that we try to do with this company is take the things that the videos and the studies and the information that's out there that the kind of average person in the fitness industry would look at and be like, wait, what the hell are they talking about? And I like trying to break that down and making it like tangible and I guess edible, for lack of a better word, like digestible, simplifying it. So the people that I'm listening to, some of the ones that I really like, Andrew Huberman, he's got a great podcast that's very like science heavy, but he's still got tons of like very easily approachable, very applicable information out there. I'm going to open up my podcast app because I know there's somebody I'm not thinking of. Yeah, I guess. So Mark Bell, this is the Nutrient Health Project podcast, right? Mark Bell is like Power Project, the Mark Bell Power Project. So you can tell like I got some of that from him. I also just like Mark Bell is a great resource in the training industry, because you're talking about an individual who has squatted over 1,000 pounds, I think benched over 700, something like that, maybe more than that. So he's a very strong dude, but like he has people from all kinds of different areas of training on his podcast, and they don't just talk about powerlifting. Like he had the knees over toes guy, Ben Patrick. They talked about that. He talks bodybuilding. They're just all over the place. They talk about a lot of really, really good content, really good information. But I'll typically side towards people who are like kind of more in the weeds. Another one, the Sam Miller Science podcast. Again, these are more, the Sam Miller and Andrew Huberman ones are more like science-y and kind of in the weeds a little bit, but you'll still be able to pull something applicable out of them. Outside of those, I to a smaller degree, people like Christian Thibodeau, Charles Poliquin.
Ross Edgley.
Yeah, Ross Edgley. He's Ross Edgley is just, if you want to talk about a guy, this guy. Just off the top of my head, so Ross Edgley completed the first triathlon, which was him doing a triathlon with like a
100-pound tree.
Yeah, was it 100? Yeah, you're reading the book right now. With a 100-pound tree strapped to his back. So he was swimming with the tree, he was bike riding with the tree, and he was running a marathon with the tree. He did a marathon where he pulled a truck for the whole marathon, right? He did something where he climbed, how long was the rope? Like 80 feet or 60 feet or something like that.
Remember.
Either way, so the rope was whatever it was, 60 feet, 50 feet, 40 feet, 30 feet, whatever it was. I don't know what an average rope climb length is, but he took that and climbed it up and down to the height of Everest, which is, again, I don't know, 80,000 feet or something like that. But it was like this...
In 24 hours.
Yeah, 24-hour ordeal where he's just climbing up and down this rope. And he would have 30 seconds rest in between every time he got down. So he would climb up the rope, climb back down, have 30 seconds up and down, back again.
Like hands bleeding.
Yeah, hands are bleeding. Triathlon, ran a marathon, pulling a car, the rope climb, and then the most recent one he did, I think back in 2017, was the lunatic, swam all around the island of Great Britain. Right? I think that's accurate. But yeah, he basically, for 151 days or something, swam for 12 hours and then would get on the boat to eat, get a little bit of sleep, do publicity or whatever for it, and then back in the water. So 150 plus days of 12-hour swims every single day.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like that's the kind of person that resonates with me on that same level, like Goggins. Just people who, David Goggins, if you're not familiar, but people who like let you know, like, hey, you push yourself and you think you're at the wall, and like Goggins would say, you're only 40% of the way there, right? You can still push so much more. But yeah, I try to never get all of my information from one person, so I'm pulling from all over the place. So it's a very wide open and multifaceted as far as my influences. I can't just look at one person and be like, this person, like I wish I had a nice succinct answer like Holly did, like 1, 2, and 3. But for me, it's just like there's way too much. I am trying to find inspiration, motivation, and information in anywhere I can. I feel like was it Einstein or Emerson or somebody? One of them basically said like something along the lines of you're trying to look at every person that you interact with. Like, I can learn something from everybody. I think that was Emerson, and I'm totally butchering the quote, but like you get the idea, right? Always trying to learn something from somebody. So let's go. I got another question from Mike, but this podcast is at an hour and a half, an hour and 35. So Mike, I'm going to push your question about the effects of each macro. We're going to push that to the next episode. Sorry, I literally hear you in my head going, oh man. But let's do this. I had another question from a Facebook person. They said, they had lost a lot of weight in the past couple of years, and they've gotten some muscle tone, but they're saying they still kind of have like a pudgy belly. Like, what can they do about the pudgy belly? She asked, what else can she do workout-wise for it? So this would come down to, is it a pudgy belly because there's still fat on the belly, and that's an area that you're not hitting? Or is it like extra skin because you've lost so much weight? If it's an extra skin issue, then that's going to be a different thing, right? And that it's still, I hate saying it, but like there's only so much you can do because, again, skin is an organ, so it will tighten up. If you're younger, you're going to be in a lot better position than if you're like 50 plus and you've lost a whole bunch of weight, right? I hate saying surgery, but sometimes surgery might be something to look into to like get rid of the extra skin. Just please make sure you find a very, 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 very good surgeon to do that. But if it's not just a loose skin thing and it's like you have body fat specifically on like your lower belly area and you're trying to get to it, I would say hormones play into it. So people that I work with that are eating right and working out really hard, but they still kind of have weight in that midsection, maybe like lower belly button area, kind of like side of the like saddlebags. A lot of that can come from cortisol and blood sugar issues. So getting your stress, this is again coming back to like some of those people would do better to let off of some of those constraints, but they're afraid to like, well, if I stop doing my 3 runs a week, I'm going to put more weight on. It's like, no, you just need to change up what you're doing. So there's an element of hormones that comes into that, and making sure that you're getting adequate sleep, adequate water, adequate nutrition, right? Making sure that you're hitting all of those boxes. But the other thing I would say is the lower abs, and I'm talking, when I say lower abs, I'm, like belly button and like down into your pelvis. The lower abs are typically one of the weakest areas, body part areas on almost every human being out there, right? Because when you do a sit-up, when you do a crunch, so your six-pack muscle, that muscle that's on the front of your stomach, that's the rectus abdominis. When you do a crunch, you work the rectus abdominis, and that entire muscle is getting worked. And this is something that some people will get this and poo-poo it, but some people will say you can't strengthen a muscle in certain areas of the muscle. They'll say when you're doing a sit-up, you're working the rectus abdominis, you're working the whole muscle, you can't focus on the upper portion or the middle portion of the lower portion. To that, I would say complete bullshit. Sorry, I've done it firsthand with my own training, with my client training, right, with Holly's training. You can strengthen certain areas of the muscle depending on what you do. It just goes to make sense. If you're doing like crunches to where you're just barely hitting the upper portion of that muscle, well, guess what's going to get stronger? That upper portion of that muscle. How do you strengthen the lower abs? How do you really hit that? You do those by doing things like we were talking about in our training. What have we done to switch things up? You do that with things like dead bugs. You do that with things like mountain climbers, slow mountain climbers, not the cardio thing where you're in a push-up position going dot, 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 dot. Slow mountain climbers where you're like one knee up and really squeezing the abs and then put that foot back and then bring the other one up. Put a hip circle around your legs and do it against resistance, right? That's firsthand that, I mean, probably like 3 months now that we've been really hammering dead bugs and mountain climbers and hollows with the hip circle on. And I'm an individual who I taught ab classes at Sports Village for like 5 years, doing ab class 2 days a week for like 4 or 5 years. My abs right now are the strongest, easily the strongest they've ever been, and it's only been from doing those.
It's like a brick in there. Like it's
Thank you.
Brick.
But it's dead bugs, mountain climbers, hollows, using the hip circle, trying to do either more resistance or more reps. Reverse crunches, so where you're on your back and you're holding like something to anchor yourself above your head and you're curling your hips, like taking your tailbone and your hips and curling it up into your chest. That's another great area to hit that. But I say all of this because, again, this is another taboo area where people talk about spot reducing. And you can't spot reduce, right? So there's truth to that in that if you walk into a gym and you're 80 pounds overweight, you're not going to go in there and do a bunch of sit-ups and crunches and reverse crunches and planks and dead bugs. You're not going to go in there and do just that and walk out of there with a six-pack. Your body is going to lose fat from certain areas in certain orders. But there is a lot to be said for, and this is going to an Andrew Huberman podcast. He talked about when with weight loss, with fat loss in particular, one of the highest attributes, I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but like one of the things that's most correlated to losing weight is higher innervation of the muscle tissue in that area. So what does that mean? That means that are you someone who can go in and do a couple sets of like tricep rope press downs and feel a really good burn in your tricep muscles? That means you've probably been doing a lot of tricep work for a long time and you have a really good mind-muscle connection with your triceps. You probably have somewhat leaner triceps, meaning like you might have a lot of muscle there, but they're not just like these flabby triceps that are like bingo wings flopping all over the place. So because there is more like nerve connection into the muscle, because you're telling your body, hey, I need you to be better at using this area of this muscle, it is then correlated to being a leaner area of that muscle. So in essence, yes, you can spot reduce then, right? If you're overall generally leaner, so like let's say I don't know, I haven't weighed myself in months, but if I had to guess, I'm probably like 184, 185 right now. And let's say like I had zero lower ab definition. If I just focused on doing reverse crunches, dead bugs, mountain climbers, which actually is why we started doing all this shit three so months ago, because I wanted to have the best six-pack I've ever had. If I just started doing that, then yes, you would see significant more definition and development in my midsection. So what I would say is, if it's not just a loose skin thing, make sure that all the hormones, the sleep, the water, the nutrition is all on point. You're cutting out alcohol because that's something that can play into it. And you're hitting that area in a variety of different ways and pushing it to where it burns and you know you did something to that area that day. So yeah, that's what I would say as far as how to get rid of that last little bit of belly pudge. Yeah, adding in the cardio, doing a little bit of fasting. Obviously, going to bed fasted is one of the best ways to drop body weight too. So again, within reason. So you don't need to fast 365 days a week at night. So, or 365 days a year at night. So, right. Woman, we're an hour and 43 minutes in, episode number 13. How's it feel?
Feel good.
Feel good to be back?
Yeah, getting in the groove.
Yeah. So I'm ready to do another one. But no, so everybody, thank you guys so very, very much. Again, if you have questions, hit us up on Facebook. Find either one of us, Andy Frisch, Holly Frisch, Nutrient Health and Fitness. If you have our numbers, text us, telegram us, whatever. Email us, nutrienthaf@gmail.com. It's all one word. It looks like nutrient half at gmail.com. So send them. We will have episode 14 coming. I'd like to do these at least once a week for now until we get to a routine of doing more than that. What are we going to talk about? I have no idea right now, but it'll be good. I promise you. It'll help you get a better version of you. So thank you, everyone that sent the questions. Everyone, thank you so effing much, seriously, for just like, hey, where's the new episode? Kind of miss you guys. So it's crazy how fast 8 months can fly by, because I looked at it, I was like, Jesus Christ, it's 8 months. And it's like, I just felt like maybe a month or two. It's like, nope, it goes by very quickly. So I'm thrilled to be back. I'm very thankful that you're listening to this episode. If anything in this episode helps you, please, all we ask is that you share this. This doesn't cost you any money to listen to. It costs us time to record and edit and everything, but we're trying to grow this. So nutrient-health.com is the website. It will be growing and expanding as you see. Other than that, time to put you on the spot. What you got?
Have a great week.
Have a great week.
There you go.
So there you go. Everybody, thank you guys for listening, and have a fantastic week. We will catch you on episode 14 coming up soon. This is episode 13, Nutrient Health Project Podcast. Andrew and Holly Frisch signing off. Let's get a catchphrase.
What catchphrase? Catchphrases are cheesy.
Catchphrases are cheesy. That's our catchphrase. Catchphrases are cheesy. Peace out, everybody. Have a great week, guys. We love you. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye. Later.